Hi everyone! Today I will show you how to connect your MIDI device or digital audio workstation to Unreal Engine 4 with Virtual Midi Keyboard and make the sequence animation to prepare cinematics with an animated piano or Synth keyboard. There are two ways to visualize the playing of the Virtual Midi Keyboard in Unreal Engine. The first way is to connect the MIDI device on which we will play, and interactively we will see these actions at the Unreal Engine. The second way is to send the MIDI messages over the Virtual MIDI device that we should install before. The Virtual MIDI Keyboard product is available at Unreal Engine Marketplace. The link and description are available below. For the first way, where we will use the MIDI device, in my case I will use the Arturia K-Lab Essentials 88. To set your connection with MIDI device right in Unreal Engine 4, you should enable some plugins. Before that, you need to check that Node.js software is installed on your machine. This software makes the connection between OSC, MIDI, DMX devices, web interfaces with Unreal Engine. This feature is added from the 4.27 version in Unreal Engine. At the early versions of Unreal Engine, you can use the MIDI device support plugin enabled in Unreal Engine. The loopMidi is the virtual MIDI device that can transfer the MIDI messages between your DAW, for example, and Unreal Engine. For the second way, where we will send some MIDI messages from the other software to Unreal, I will use the Bitwig DAW software, where I will record before with my MIDI keyboard some notes, and then will send this information to Unreal Engine over the loopMidi virtual MIDI device. The Bitwig is a very useful progressive tool to prepare your music composition performance to a higher level. Well, let's start. First, we need to create a new project in Unreal Engine 4.27. Let's choose the default template with the default location. When the project is loaded, we need to enable the plugins to work Virtual MIDI Keyboard properly. The MIDI device support needs to be enabled for the versions below the 4.27. For Unreal Engine 4.27, we can also enable all remote control protocol types plugins. After that, we should restart the engine. When the project is reloaded, we can add the virtual MIDI keyboard to it. Open the Epic Game Launcher, then open the Library tab in the Unreal Engine and disable the All Products and then Blueprint to find the virtual MIDI keyboard in the library. Then press Add to the project button and choose the project that we created before. After adding the Virtual Midi Keyboard, we can switch to the Unreal Engine and overview the project. On the content browser, you can find the Virtual Midi Keyboard folder. This folder contains the blueprint, maps, materials, and static meshes. At the Maps folder, we can choose several templates to start working with Virtual Midi Keyboard. Virtual Midi Keyboard Midi Device Support is a template to work with Midi Device Support plugin enabled only. Make sure that to use this map, we need to disable all Remote Control Protocol types plugins and Midi Device Support enabled. These maps contain the blueprint that contains actions of the keyboard and blueprint script to work with the Midi device correctly. The Virtual Midi Keyboard Remote Control and the Virtual Midi Second Keyboard Remote Control are the maps that work with the Remote Control Protocol type plugins. Make sure that to work with these maps, Remote Control Protocol plugins are enabled for the project. Let's open the first keyboard remote control map. There we see the piano keyboard actor in the center of the map. In simulation mode, we can start playing on the MIDI keyboard, and these actions will visualize moving on the keys on the virtual MIDI keyboard in Unreal. If you do not see anything, please check your connection with the MIDI device and settings of the Unreal Engine project, which I will show you later. When selected the virtual MIDI keyboard actor, we can find the setting on the right. When we run the simulation, we can switch between the different options that change the number of octaves in the keyboard. Also, we can choose the custom static mesh for the keyboard design or disable this mesh to implement the piano case to your own keyboard or piano to other projects. Now we will try to record some notes in Bitwig DAW software, and then we will send the MIDI events while playing the Bitwig sequence to Unreal Engine. For that, we need to create the Virtual Midi device in loopMidi. Find the loopMidi. If it's not installed in your machine, please follow the link below to the official site where it can be downloaded. After you launch the loopMidi, press the plus button and then write the name of your Virtual Midi device, so we'll easily find it in a list of available devices. Open the Bitwig and set up the MIDI controller. In my case, it's Arturia K-Lab Essentials 88. There are a lot of available ways to prepare virtual instrument with professional sound. In my case, I will use the Analog Lab 5 that is included with Arturia K-Lab Essentials 88. Add the hardware instrument to your instrument track. Select in MIDI drop list your Virtual Midi device. It will send all MIDI events from this track outside Bitwig via the selected Virtual Midi device. Press plus on the instruments to add some VST plugins to generate the sound. I will choose the Arturia Analog Lab 5. In the Analog Lab 5 plugin window, I am choosing the instrument that I like to use for the sound. In Unreal Engine, we will see the pressing of the case when we will play the VST in Bitwig. we need to set up the MIDI input in the project settings and then remote control protocol. Select the MIDI device in the drop list and then select the virtual MIDI device that you created before in loopMidi and set it as a MIDI output device in Bitwig. Now the connection between the DAW software and Unreal Engine is correct. You can see playing on the Virtual Midi Keyboard and Unreal Engine visualize the MIDI events from the MIDI device. At the next step, I will open the second keyboard remote control map in a Bitwig will record some notes. Then I will play this loop in Bitwig and at the same time will record in Unreal the motion of the case. Export the track from Bitwig as a WAV file and import it in Unreal. To make some cinematics, we need to create the new sequence. Create the camera, including the sequence of the recorded motion of the case on the keyboard. Create the audio track and add the WAV file. Match the audio to the recorded motion of the case by shifting the audio track along the timeline. When the motion of the camera is set, you can check the results in the sequencer. The same way to send the MIDI events to Unreal working on the other products like a Sci-Fi Synth and Gothic Choir. Hope you will enjoy using the Virtual Midi Keyboard. Thanks for watching.